You came back around and asked several of our CMOs for some help. We did some additional research, which added to the existing research we had. You published a paper, you put some of our names on it, which was very generous of you. That paper got published, but there were some really interesting findings in there about different ways of organizing where marketing fits into the organization. It gets into the original comment about who's in charge. But what was the essence of that paper message?
That was step one in my move to change the entire world, or at least all of the academic world teaching marketing. They're teaching out of those thick textbooks with lists because they believe marketing's in control of everything. So this is a heretical paper. And having Pete as a co-author and a couple of other chief outsiders as co-authors made it hard for the marketing establishment to say, this couldn't possibly happen, because there were people who were out there in the field who played a very important role piece in that. And we found three patterns of marketing authority. In one pattern, marketing had authority for research and segmentation, targeting, positioning, pricing, distribution, had control of all of it. And there was another group where marketing just had communications, advertising, media, PR communication, no price, no distribution.
Which is, by the way, very common in technology firms, that approach.
Right. We don't know who our respondents were. That's why they would tell us all their secrets. We can guess those are technology firms. We can guess that first set of firms are packaged goods firms.
Okay.
Then we had the majority, the biggest group. Marketing didn't have authority for any of those decisions. When marketers making those decisions, I'm guessing that's your operationally oriented companies. Then marketers maybe make brochures for the sales organization.
So in that first group, and I think it was like maybe only 17%, that they charge marketing with the mission of growth.
Yes, I think we call that, I should ask you, P&L responsibility. Who has P&L? That whoever has P&L is going to have pricing and distribution, because those are so critical to bringing in revenue.
And that is real common in consumer packaged goods companies, where a brand manager literally owns the P&L of that product, of that brand category. Yeah.
And it's brand managers that roll up to be general managers of divisions and then roll up to be CEOs.
So why don't we think this happens more often in a B2B company?
Well, what kind of B2B?
Well, let's say technology. Let's go back to that.
Here's my hypothesis. This will be our step 3, Pete. It's what we'll do after we get our next step completely. Step 3, I think it goes back to inception. When the company started, what was the founder's background? Tech companies, it's usually an engineer. Engineers have a world outlook, and as they're trying to build a company or people to support them, they're looking for other people with that world outlook. And as they get big enough to need to organize P&L, they put people in place that understand the engineering outlook so they can. And this was way back in inception. By the time Pete Hayes took a job with them, nobody even remembered that. They just know that you got to be an engineer if you want to run a business.
Yeah. Okay.
Packaged goods companies, I guess it was somebody who was very marketing consumer oriented that started the firm.
And it's almost like you really have to have in-depth consumer insight in order to find those little nuances to make those product changes and brand extensions. The sophistication of marketing still seems to be in consumer products. It's wild, isn't it?
It's wild, but it's exactly what you'd expect. How sophisticated do you think the engineers at Procter & Gamble are? Well, I'm sure they're very competent. Compare them to those at AMD. So whichever function is line, we know you hire the best people. You hire the A+ students for that function. Give them the most challenging jobs, the highest salary. You promote them fastest. You're grooming them for top management. So what a surprise that it's the engineers and the tech companies that are the best of the engineers, and the marketers and the consumer goods companies are the best of the marketers.